Good morning and welcome to the Dallas Aftershow here on JLJ Media. I'm your host, James Lott Jr. Thank you, everybody who are listening to the show on our streaming services like iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple. And especially thank you to all of you who are watching the show on YouTube at JLJ Media. I appreciate it very much. I love doing these shows. I'll give a shout out to my brother who gives me we talk about different subjects all the time about the show and inspires some of the shows that I actually do. I have another friend talk to you about Dallas, and they also inspire which episodes I'm going to do. But this show can go on forever. There's so much to talk about. There's 13 seasons plus the 3 plus just life, the movies, everything. So we're going to continue to cover all of these. And special thank you to all the Dallas Facebook groups who allow me to post it. And I love the engagement. And tell me how you feel. I give my opinions on some of the stuff. I want you to know how you feel too. So this one is one I think is one of the best storylines in the series. That had lots of potential. If they went, and I'm going to tell you why I think it had other potential. But it's a storyline that I thought was very interesting. And I remember at the time, I was a kid when this show came out. I remember at the time, actually, I was a teenager when this all started happening. This storyline that a lot of people were not happy about it. On soaps, they usually recast. Especially daytime soaps, it's a common thing to recast. So Jock Ewing would have been recast. Jim Davis died in real life. That facilitated this. And then for so many years, there was no Jock. So it makes sense that, 4 or 5 years later, a Jock would return. He was, presumed dead in a plane crash in South America. All the layers were sitting there. The setup was there. They brought on, during Dream season, Ben Stivers. I'm saying his name correctly. And it was majorly hinted he was Jock Ewing, right? Now, I read later, I didn't know this at the time, I read later that the plan was to make whoever, Steve Forrest, who plays his character, who later became Wes Parmalee, there's going to be Jock Ewing. And I had no problem with this. Steve Forrest is a great actor. Of course, I knew him from Mommy Dearest. He was in that. And a bunch of other things, too. But for me personally, I had no problem. I understand recast. Now, many would say, why bring him on? Because there's already Bobby. It's after the Dream season. Bobby was coming back. You already have JR. You have Clayton. All these people. And I thought, again, it's a soap opera. This would make a really interesting curveball. So I always felt that once they took Jock out, I think it's one of the reasons why JR became so popular. I mean, he was on his way to becoming popular anyway, but I feel like then JR had free reign. He had his mom in the corner who would say things every once in a while, but he had no daddy to control. Him and Bobby had to fight. It solidified their brother / rival status at Ewing Oil. You want to see what the brothers were going to do. There was no daddy in between. But in soap fashion, they brought back Jock. That would throw a curveball to both of them too. Not to mention Miss Ellie and Clayton, who they're married at this time. They're married at this point. They're married. They're in love. I thought there was some great acting. We saw some characters really step up. Clayton, I think, to me, was one of the MVPs of the storyline. Because he already had to live in the shadow of Jock Ewing, right? And even he was his own man, everything, but he came on the South Fork, and and it was this whole thing about, this is not his place. Those children are not his children. He had Dusty, that's somebody separate, but JR and they were grown folks. They didn't look at him like a father. As a person who has who gained a stepfather grown, I understand that. And he wasn't part of Ewing Oil, but he was there for Miss Ellie. And having Jock, the possibility of Jock coming back, I mean, romantically, everything just throws, and there were some great scenes. But a lot of it, there's 2 moments that really stand out for me when it comes to him. The Oil Barons Ball, the Jock Ewing Memorial ceremony, which of course that's just so soapy. It's wonderful. Everybody's there. He declares he's Jock Ewing. And Bobby and JR, of course, standing up, scream back at him, get off the stage. Who are you? Stop doing this. But it's Clayton who comes in at the end. gets mad at Miss Ellie for not saying nothing. And she's complete. I mean, God, Barbara Bel Geddes again doing amazing, quietly amazing work. She was torn. She didn't know what to do. She really didn't know what to do. I mean, I understood her position. And he runs over and he threatens. This is what he said. One of the things he said, one of the lines I like. You better look for a cemetery plot because I'll track you down, find you, and I'll kill you. And Bobby and JR both like, even they were speechless because I mean Clayton didn't talk like that normally. Clayton was like, "You messing with my," he said, "You messing with my family. If you're lying, if you're lying." He was pissed, and he didn't want to lose Miss Ellie. He was like, "I love her," and he told her, and he told him, and Wes was like, I "Fair enough, I get it." Jerry Wendell was hilarious, and so was Cliff. They're both just kind of like, okay, what's going on here? Let's see what's going on. What's going on? But Clayton, to me, and also afterwards when it's revealed that Wes is not Jock, and they're all describing it downstairs in South Fork, describing everybody like, this is what happened, and Punk Anderson, everybody's talking. Then he goes upstairs to see Miss Ellie, and she's just like, she says, "I'm tired." She seems worn out. She didn't ask for it. She didn't ask for this. It's just all a lot. And Clayton demands to know what Wes Parmalee said to her. And she's like, "Just give me a second to just get my bearings." I understood where she was coming from, but I also understood where he was coming from because he was just not happy. And he wanted to talk to his wife. He loves her, and his livelihood was threatened by this guy. His life was threatened by this guy. But I get her side because she's totally just like wiped out. She said she was confused, just emotionally. I totally get it. She wanted to get her thoughts together. And he wasn't having it, but I thought, again, great acting with them, mature couple, showing that they can have problems, just like all the other soap couples can. I just thought it was, I remember when he first came on and saw Gary's picture. I was like, oh, look at Gary's picture. All this stuff. And there's always these things. So for me, here's what I'm thinking. One, make him Jock Ewing. That would have been really interesting for the second half of the series, basically, right? Or make him Jason Ewing. Because see, on soaps now, they would have made him a twin. They would have said it's Jock's twin. There was one more brother. I'm glad they didn't do that. That would have been interesting, but I'm glad they didn't do that. But it made him Jason Ewing. Then Jamie and Jock, that have their dad. It'd be a whole interesting storyline, right? With that, that he would have some DNA to them, and maybe want to fight for his piece, like they did, fight for his piece of Ewing oil. That could be interesting. And then also, maybe not have feelings for Miss Ellie. Maybe not really want to be with her, or maybe he does want to be with her, or maybe, or he falls in love with somebody else. I mean, who knows? Ooh. What if he's Jason Ewing and he fell for April Stevens and they start working together? Maybe that's something too. But anyway, possibilities were endless with that storyline, and they ended it. That was it. So I don't know. I just thought that in today's soapy world, they may have done something more with him than have him just be an imposter and then just go away. I just think they probably would have done. They could have, because Steve Forrest is a great actor. They could have easily integrated him into the story. Been very interesting. But again, the MVP was Clayton to me. He was like, because Bobby and JR, as usual, they come together when the outsiders come at them. They come together. That's not even a thought for them. They always come together. And they always believe that he wasn't Jock. Either he passed lie detector checks, and we all know that doesn't work all the time, and stuff. They were not convinced. Some will say they could have been in denial, right? And if they had made him the father, they could. But they didn't make him a father, so I guess it doesn't matter. They were right. So anyway, so I thought it was one of the best storylines of the series that had lots of potential, and they could have done more with. But as usual, tell me what you think. I know you guys always do, and I love hearing what you have to say. What you think about that storyline? Dallas Aftershow on JLJ Media. I'm James Lott Jr., and we'll see you the next episode for this show, Dallas.